Look at the physical scale of a 9-figure commercial development. Massive steel girders, multi-acre foundations, intricate phasing schedules. A project of this magnitude is mathematically inaccessible to a localized subcontractor. This diagram illustrates the barrier. We have two isolated nodes representing small solo firms. Notice the tight boundary line encircling them. This is the hard ceiling of their maximum bidding capacity. Hovering far above that boundary is a high-volume commercial contract. Individual overhead establishes a mathematical limit that keeps this contract entirely out of reach. A solo firm has restricted access to high-CAPEX inventory. When you rely on a single set of heavy machinery, the volume of work you can physically complete in a given quarter is strictly capped by the availability of that equipment. You are also constrained by a static labor pool. If a massive project demands a sudden, acute surge in specialized labor, a solo operation cannot scale up fast enough to meet that requirement. The solution to shattering this hard ceiling is structural. It requires merging separate small firms into a formal joint venture. This requires moving strictly past a handshake partnership. You're creating a synthetic Tier 1 bidding entity, a governed legal corporation designed to bid as a monolith. Building this entity relies on 3 operational pillars: establishing a unified legal framework, pooling physical inventory, and consolidating labor. Executing these 3 pillars grants you the capacity to bid on and service massive commercial projects previously disqualified by your individual balance sheet. Remaining an isolated firm in a fragmented market guarantees a strict cap on your revenue. Adopting the joint venture model provides the exact structural prerequisite needed to scale past that limitation. Before any tools or crews share a job site, you must establish a formalized legal framework. The merging firms must enact explicit profit-sharing protocols. Every partner's financial incentives must align perfectly, dictating exactly how capital flows back to the origin firms upon project completion. In this diagram, a bounding box labeled joint venture forms around the isolated firms. Inside are distinct layers for risk allocation and profit distribution to individual partners, ensuring that a catastrophic, entity-threatening risk on one project cannot liquidate the assets of the other origin firms. With the legal firewall in place, we move to the operational mechanics. This central hub represents the administrative core. Instead of each origin firm running its own payroll software, tax compliance, and HR staff, those separate redundant streams are merged into a single centralized pipeline. Centralizing these back-office operations instantly eliminates redundant individual overhead expenses across the board. Stripping away this administrative friction has an immediate financial effect. It directly increases the amount of available liquid capital across the entire venture. To win a massive commercial bid, you need substantial working capital to front initial material orders, insurance premiums, and mobilization costs. That freed-up liquidity covers this exact requirement. Beyond protecting the partners, this legal and administrative core lowers the baseline operating cost, generating immediate financial leverage before a single hammer is swung. With the administrative systems unified, the next phase is the physical aggregation of heavy machinery into a massive, centralized logistical footprint. This diagram tracks the physical inventory. We see 3D wireframes of high-end table saws, telehandlers, and specialized framing rigs leaving the separate source nodes and pooling into a single, centralized fleet database. You are actively combining highly specific, capital-intensive assets into one entity. An isolated firm often experiences bottlenecking, waiting days for a rented telehandler or a repaired saw. A unified fleet ensures a continuous flow of equipment availability. This pooled inventory allows the joint venture to deploy heavy assets to multiple job sites simultaneously.
Production never halts due to a lack of machinery. Look at this Gantt chart overlaying the central fleet database. To manage the combined machinery, you must implement a shared, centralized maintenance schedule. It strictly maps out staggered downtime across all pooled assets. By staggering when each machine goes offline for servicing, the joint venture maintains continuous operational capacity across all active job sites. Distributing the maintenance burden across the entire joint venture prevents a single blown transmission or a catastrophic repair cost from bankrupting an individual partner. Adhering to a strict shared maintenance protocol drastically increases the overall longevity and the daily utilization rate of every physical asset you own. By pooling inventory, static tools sitting in a yard are transformed into a dynamic logistical footprint. You replicate the physical capacity of a Tier 1 contractor, capable of continuous multi-site operation. The final internal step in constructing the joint venture is the precise and strategic integration of specialized human capital across the board. This network graph maps out the labor strategy. Distinct crews are merging into clustered nodes, categorized strictly by skill level. We see groups for master carpenters and separate pools for apprentices. You are establishing a highly categorized bench of labor. This structure enables dynamic deployment. Specialized labor can now be rapidly shifted between sites based strictly on the specific phases of a project, maximizing hourly efficiency. Turning to the supply chain, this flow diagram illustrates the joint venture's strategic leverage. We see massive, aggregated orders for lumber and hardware feeding into the main JV node, providing the scale necessary to suppress raw material costs. When you order raw materials in bulk as a unified entity, the mathematical drop in the price per unit for lumber and hardware is severe. This aggregated purchasing power directly lowers the overall cost structure of your commercial bid. You can heavily undercut solo competitors while maintaining a strict profit margin. When you combine an expanded crew size with highly secure bulk material pipelines, you possess the capacity to guarantee much faster project turnaround times. Rapid turnaround time is the primary metric general contractors use when analyzing and awarding massive framing contracts. Time is their most expensive variable. The combination of cheaper bulk materials and rapid labor deployment creates a structural getting advantage. Localized solo teams simply cannot replicate this math. Here is the fully constructed joint venture. The legal core, pooled inventory, and labor bench operate as a single unit. It expands through the previous capacity boundary, connecting to the massive commercial contract node. Presenting this powerhouse entity to general contractors requires a specific roadmap. During the bidding process, you must supply documentation proving your Tier 1 capabilities. This means presenting your centralized balance sheet, your combined safety records, and the operational metrics of your dynamic labor deployment. A Public Works and Set-asides node appears. Minority-owned certifications serve as the bridge to this specialized pool. The joint venture aggregates these individual certifications to qualify the entire unit, providing a direct pathway to lucrative set-aside contracts out of reach for standard commercial bidders. Executing this strategy effectively requires a profound psychological shift. You must abandon the localized zero-sum competition of underbidding your neighbors for small residential jobs. The scale of the billion-dollar table requires a completely different approach. At the highest levels of commercial construction, fierce independence is a liability. Extreme collaboration is what gets rewarded. Formalized horizontal integration via the joint venture is the only rigorously engineered pathway to graduate from a local subcontractor to a major commercial player.